Welcome back to Pilgrims Walk. Hope you're well. We're going to start this week's episode with 4 words that we thought we'd never see on the screen here on this Plymouth Argyle podcast. Nathan Pearson, Argyle fan, on Twitter this weekend, posted the words, "In Cleverly we trust." Who'd have thought we ever would see that? Welcome back. Hope you are well. We are, of course, fresh back from beating playoff hopeful Luton Town. And what does that mean for Argyle? Does it mean we have a squeak? A tiny squeak of the playoffs? Or are we getting ahead of ourselves? The defence has sorted itself out. We are looking absolutely solid at the back. We've got Chris and Reese to give their view on, just what has happened to Argyle in the last month. Because if we look at the table, and Reese has very kindly put this together for us, Reese, if we look at the table from the start of the year, the good news, of course, is that there Argyle sitting in second. The bad news, of course, is you have got one tiny little team above you there. How good does that look?
Who would have thought that? I think probably 2 weeks before Christmas, we all expected that we would have been bottom at Christmas, and it was more of the same, to be honest. Or that we'd be going into January the same as we did last year, with just sacking on New Year's Day, and but wow. I was one of the loudest people saying that Cleverly needed to go, but fair enough to him, fair enough to the board by sticking by him, fair enough to him. There's a long way to go this season. There's still that nervous, there's still that anxious that if we pick up too many injuries, things are going to go wrong again. But I think that's just that's ingrained in us as Plymouth Argyle fans that we're going to think on the negative side sometimes. But yeah, it's and what has happened, because it's the same defence relatively as what we're conceding for fun at one point this season. I mean, the squad. I mean, we had Rolls on pitch for 5 minutes on Saturday, but again, was a young squad or starting 11 on Saturday. But they look like they got mature heads on them, and they look passionate. They look like they want the ball more than the opposition. I mean, Luton have got serious problems. I don't know where they've. I was expecting more from them, but I think we've got to give ourselves credit that we were, first half in particular, brilliant, and it was the best performance I've seen certainly this season. I mean, I wasn't at Doncaster, I wasn't at Peterborough, where by all marks there was as good performances, but by far for me they were the best performance I've seen this season by far.
Brilliant. Some fans are suggesting, Chris, that the reason you're doing so well is because actually the players are starting to care, which we weren't seeing in the early part of the season. This tweet from Tom says, "Fair play, credit where it's due. This lot are finally starting to win me over, not because of the results, but because they're finally playing for the shirt and putting in a shift. Great performance." Yeah, do you agree, Chris?
Absolutely, that's what they're doing, Mark. You know, they're gelling as a team. We've got injuries that's come back. We've got experience now in the side, as I've said before, along with Joe Edwards, Joe Rawls, even Chijani, Galloway, people like that. They all bring experience, and experience you can't buy. And they're helping those youngsters over the line. And on Saturday, for Luton to get away with a 1-0, they were lucky with 1-0. I mean, we had about 7 or 8 great chances, and they probably had one that O'Connor has made a great save with. But they were lucky to get away with the 1-0. And it could have been much more simpler if Ben Pepper went through with one-on-one with the keeper, and he should have scored that one. But typical Ben, put it wide. But we were already 1-0 up at the time. But yeah, we are gelling, and there's a lot of aspects to it. You know, Derek Adams coming in, helping Tom Cleverly. I always sat on the fence with Tom. I never wanted to see him go, and it's been proven right that he is the man that can take us out of a scenario. Hopefully, we can go into this stage of the season now with a bit of confidence, because that's what these guys have been lacking, is confidence. And now with confidence behind them, that we've just gone on a run of 7 games. If we win tomorrow at home to Mansfield, we can go on 4 games in a row winning. You know, that's credit to everyone that's out there, not just Tom, but everyone, all the players, all the staff, Nance, you know, and long may it continue. There's 5 teams at the moment, all on the same points, 36 points. We're bottom of those 5, but it don't take much to get up there. You know, it is like we said before, there's not a lot to get you down in the relegation scrap. There's not a lot to get you up in that promotion playoffs. So long may it continue with that confidence that we can get in that promotion playoffs.
I want to throw a couple of players at you here, which fans are absolutely jumping up and down about to talk about. The first one you can probably predict, Reese, is this fella. Joint most consecrated, joint most dribbles, duels won 16. I think we need that checking. 16 duels won in a single game. Janet says Curtis has transformed our transition. Yeah. Is he right, Reese?
Oh, 100%. I think it took me about 10 minutes and I went, I like him. Well, it says an awful lot. The duels, actually, I think was probably about right. He has got some serious leap on him. He wins everything in the air. He's not one of the tallest, but he leaps over and he wings everything off the wing there. And he likes to take a player on, and he's direct, and he whips the ball in. He's got a lovely cross in him, and from set pieces, he's got a really good set piece as well. Yeah, it's what we've been missing for probably a number of seasons actually with our set piece dead ball situations. We've struggled to beat the first man probably before we went up in the championship the first time. So yeah, I really really like him. I think he's a brilliant addition. I'm a bit confused why Port Vale weren't playing him. I think they were playing different formats. But a player like that, when you're struggling, you try and get him in his team. But yeah, he's made a world of a difference, and he looks like it looks like he's been there all season. If I'm honest, he settled so quickly, and he just looks the part. Absolutely perfect player for us.
You see, Tulai's had a lot to say in that transfer window as well.
Yeah,
to
yes.
get on board, because he is being fed completely off Curtis. Curtis is a character as well. He's not only a great player, he's a character, and that's what I like to see, his characters on the pitch.
Brilliant. One for you here, Chris, then. Another player in particular. It changed my life, honestly. Brendan Galloway, like that. Talk to me about Brendan, please.
Well, he's come back from playing in the AFCON, and he's carried on as he left off before he went. Scoring 3 goals now, is it, in 4 games? I mean, for a left-back, he's moving up the pitch. Whereas he was just solid at the back before, he's now an attacking left-back. He's attacking more than what Solihull has been. And long may it continue. Brendan Galloway, on his day, is a great player. But he's one of those that is injury prone, and we've seen enough of injuries in his time at home park. If he can stay injury free, he's a class player. Make no mistake. And he does it for Zimbabwe, and he's doing it for Plymouth Argyle, and he's getting the goals now. And to his credit, he's getting in the right places, getting the right knock-ons. A little bit of luck with 1 or 2 of his goals, but you've got to be in the right place to earn a bit of luck.
Oh, Saturday's goal was hell of a finish as well, wasn't it? All but an overhead kick, scissor kick sort of thing, and it just. But for a left back shouldn't be coming up with that at split notice. That's not something they normally do, is it? But it was
a striker's dream, wasn't it? It was a striker's dream. Goal.
Absolutely.
And that's our left back.
So I think it was something like he hadn't scored in like 2,000 days or something stupid like that, and then suddenly comes back and scores 3 and 4.
Well, the good thing is goals have got to be shared upon. You just can't rely on Tulai. You can't rely on the likes of Asani when he's playing to score. So the goals have got to come around. Now, the sad thing is from Saturday is that it come as a cost, because we got 3 injuries, bad injuries. Tulai, dead leg. Hopefully he's going to be fit for tomorrow. They've probably been working on that day and night for the last 48 hours. Brendan Weradu,
he's fit.
He's fit. He seems to be training today.
Yeah.
But the one is Joe Rose. Now, Joe Rose, he went off with an hamstring after 5 minutes. You can see it was an hamstring pull. Hopefully, he didn't do it any serious damage. He's gone for a scan tonight, I believe. So the fact he went off right away is good for him, and hopefully it's good for us, and he's not out too long. But any form of hamstring is going to take a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, where we've got a lot of games suddenly coming up thick and fast. So another midfielder is probably going to be after sort ASAP.
Let's talk about transfers, shall we, briefly, because the transfer window closes just after that Stockport game on Saturday, on the Monday night. The one I want to focus on is actually an outgoing, first of all, Ballymumba. Reese, joined Huddersfield since we last spoke. And apologies if you were looking for us last week. I came down with man flu, so we are back now, and we're catching up a little bit. Just a word, please, on the contribution Ballymunber's given to Argyle.
Yeah, I mean that first season he was with us when he was on loan from Norwich, wasn't it? I think it was. You know what? He got young player of the season in the whole league. He was an absolutely formidable player. He was probably one of the first names on that team sheet, and it was just worked perfectly. It hasn't quite worked the last couple of seasons. I think it was probably the right time for him to move on. But it definitely doesn't take away from what he has done as a player. He never stopped really trying. He could always see he was trying things. It wasn't working. He was getting frustrated, and you know, as an attacking player, it's frustrating seeing him make the same mistakes. But you could at least he was frustrated by it. At least he was annoyed by it. And I think from our point of view, I think it was a fantastic bit of business getting the money we did for him. Certainly, he's out of contract, not this summer, summer after. So yeah, I think he's definitely given us enough over the years. He was a player on his day, absolute brilliant player, and should be a championship player, but he just didn't have those days enough in the past recent times. Hopefully, this moves the right thing, and he can kick on his career now. Yeah, I do genuinely wish him the best. Hopefully, he really does kick on now because he deserves it, and he seems like a good lad. Seems a good player, and there's definitely a brilliant player in there.
Undisclosed fee, Chris. I don't know if we've heard any rumours how much it actually was, have we?
Well, it's best part of the £1 million mark, I believe, which is what
Okay.
we paid for him in 23. So, to get that back 3 years later, that was a formidable bit of transfer news from Argyle, really. No doubt Derek Adams had a bit of a say in that transfer fee to try to get it as high as possible. Huddersfield, I couldn't believe how much they were willing to pay for him, to be fair, on current performance, which is what you've got to base things on. And I totally agree with everything that we said. He's been a class player for us, and we all wanted him signed when we had him on loan, so we can't regret not having him. But this season has been a poor season for him, and I think he's lacked confidence, which is what I spoke about earlier. And you could see the guy was trying things, and it just wasn't coming off. And he is a confident player. Hopefully, it's a deal that works for all parties concerned, I think.
Okay. Reece, if the window's slammed shut now with no new faces coming in, would you be happy with that? I know we've got Mackenzie to come, who's not a new player as such, but will feel like one. Would you be happy what the club have done or not?
No, I don't think so. I think after the summer transfer window we had, I think to only bring in one player in January would be certainly setting yourself up for not failure, because I think the squad's moving in the right direction, but it will be another easy excuse should things go wrong again or we get a few injuries. You go straight away, wow, we should have done something in January, which they were saying at the last fans forum that there was going to be money, there was going to be 2 or 3 signings. So I think I wouldn't be happy yet. Obviously, it's gone quiet on the rumour side of things, but from the sounds of it, it's happening in the background. And from certainly our experience with Derek Adams, he doesn't tend to be one of these managers that lets things get to the press as easy. We never really heard about signings when Adams was in charge last time. So I definitely have faith that they are working on stuff, and I believe as a centre back imminent this week. And then they'll leave it a bit later for a striker, or what now looks like it probably have to be a midfielder, depending on the news for rules.
Yeah, Chris, you agree with all that?
Yeah, totally. And I think, like we said, we're desperate in a couple of areas, centre half being one of them. I know they've been looking at a couple of signings in that area. It hasn't come to fruition yet. So centre half has got to be one of the ones that we desperately need. And also now a midfielder. A striker, I think, would have been a target, but I think midfield at the moment, because we've only got the bare minimum, depending on Joe Raw's scan tonight as well. Midfield and centre half, two additions desperately needed out there.
Okay, right. And let us know in the comments what's on your shopping list for next Monday night. We've reached the A to Z halfway point. We're up to letter M, and that's got us thinking about managers, actually, for letter M, before we get into that position. Who's been the best manager of your lifetime as an Argyle fan? Not in terms of success or trophies or promotions, but in terms of the style of football that has been brought to Home Park. So we're going to do the reverse of this next week in terms of the worst manager. We'll just say Wayne Rooney now, shall we? Yeah. Put the worst manager in the comments. We'll read some of these out next week in terms of who you put forward for that. But Reece, in terms of your lifetime, what's been the most exciting football you've watched, and who's brought it to Home Park?
Well, I think the it's a very easy decision in my lifetime. Actually, is Steven Schumacher. I think probably even under Lowe, it was probably Schumacher was the brains behind those two from what we've seen since then with Lowe. But yeah, Steven Schumacher, everything around the club was moving in the right direction. The style of football was just phenomenal. He was able to do what he was able to do with a relatively small budget not a small budget, but not a top 4 or 5 budget in the in League One was absolutely amazing, and he continued in the Championship, and it was a shame we lost him, but unfortunately that's the part and parcel of having a smaller budget. But I think a second second manager would probably be Paul Sturrock for me. He got us promoted, or officially didn't get us promoted at the time where he left on the game after he left. We got promoted, but growing up, that was certainly one of the managers I knew best was Paul Sturrock.
Chris, what about for you?
Oh, for me, early 70s, Tony Waiters. Can't ever forget Tony Waiters. He did an awful lot for Plymouth. Got legendary players involved who I want to mention in a moment, so I won't go too deep into that. But he was a great manager for us. And on top of that would have been Paul Sturrock, as Reece just said. And some of the greatest football I've seen out there, believe it or not, was under Ian Holloway. I thought that was superb. He wanted 500,000 for the board, and he was told that give me that 500,000. He had 2 players lined up. I think it was Ian Ormerod and is it Charlie Nichols that went to Liverpool, and he said, "Give me that 500 grand, and I can get Charlie Adams, and I can get those. I can get us promotion to Div 1 at the time, or i.e. the Premiership." And he refused that, and he fell out with the board, and hence why he went off to Leicester. But some of the players that he had playing in the football that we played under Holloway can't be forgotten. It was good. It was good stuff, believe it or not.
Brilliant. Okay, let us know the worst football about next week then. Letter M, what have you got, Chris?
Well, I've got a couple of worthy mentions before my biggest M. My worthy mentions is Luke McCormick played 350 appearances for us, and he was with us for 16 years, 2001 to 2017. Great goalkeeper. Worthy of mention, cannot go without saying Ronnie Morget. He had 158 appearances for us, 18 goals. But the biggest goal he got for us was at Wembley, where we beat Darlington in the playoff final in 1996, the only man to score at Wembley for us. So both were the opponents there with Ronnie and Luke McCormick. But my man for M, there's only one. And I've got to be honest with you, I'm old enough and lucky enough to say that I've seen this man play. He is my favourite all-time man in green for Plymouth Argyle. None other than Paul Mariner. What a player. 1970, I think we got him. 73. So he was with us 73 to 76. He made 155 appearances, 61 goals. We got him from Chorley Town, if I remember rightly. I think we paid about £6,000 for him. Absolute brilliant. And what a partnership he had under Tony Waiters with Billy Rafferty. The best partnership I've ever seen at Plymouth Argyle. They were knocking goals in for fun. Absolute brilliant. And we gained promotion from Division 3 in 1975 under Tony Waiters, with that partnership of Billy Rafferty and Paul Mariner. And Paul Mariner, all credit to him, he went on to bigger and better things. We unfortunately had somebody come in and poach him called Bobby Robson. Well, Bobby Robson poached him to go to Ipswich, as we all know, and he's seen us off in the deal. It was meant to have been worth quite a bit of money, and we ended up with 2 guys called John Padelty and Terry Austin. Meant to have been worth around £100,000. I think they were worth about 10. So, that was typical of Argyle. We had the best player ever for us, and we got seen off in the transfer market. But Paul went Paul Mariner went on to great things. He played 35 times for England, and then after that, he also played for Arsenal. And he came back to Plymouth as a manager, and he was with us for a season. Dug us out of the hole we were in, but it didn't work out, and he ended up getting the boat the following season, 2019, I think it was. 2009, 2010, and unfortunately died of cancer a few years ago whilst living in America. But what a player! I loved him to bits. Poor man.
Brilliantly said, Chris. Follow that, Reese.
Well, I actually had the same too. I had Ronnie Mauger and
Okay.
Paul Mariner. However, the one thing you didn't mention about Ronnie Mauger was he may or may not have been arrested just before the playoff playoff final, and was bailed to Warnock's house, and had to live with the manager for all the time to make sure that he was behaving, and then went to just so that he could play in the final against Darlington, and scored a header from, I believe, from a corner. Well before my time, bit before my time, but yeah, the story my dad always tells me. He's actually still involved with the club now. I believe he's like a president or something. He's heavily involved with the hospitality side of things, and involved massively back in the Jack Leslie statue, which now stands outside of the Devonport end to commemorate Jack Leslie. So yeah, Ronnie Mauger, but Paul Mariner. I mean, I know him as a manager. I've heard plenty about him as a footballer. But he was manager for us during the administration years, so we definitely can't overlook what he did for the club at that point as well.
Mariner gets in for M. Brilliant. Now they've got some tricky letters coming up in the next couple of weeks. We've got O's and Q's and everything. So, yeah, they're going to need your help with all of that. So stay tuned. Do drop us a subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Absolutely smashing it out of the park in terms of all your love. So appreciate all your comments and all your niceties that you pass on to Chris and Reese when you see them in the stands on a Saturday afternoon. Thank you very much for your company this week. Good luck against Mansfield and, of course, away at Stockport this Saturday. And we'll see you back here next week to review both of those games. Thanks so much.